Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to We Know Texas Vino. We are so excited to be here. My name is Michael.
That's Will.
And you know what, Will? I think we need a little vivacious attitude in this podcast.
I think you're right. I mean, we're missing something.
Who's that
here.
girl over there?
I don't know, some stranger over there.
Hey, guys.
Hey, it's Jen. Hey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. And this is We Know Texas Vino.
Cheers.
Cheers. Well, good morning, everybody.
Well, we're back and it's fun. And we woke up to a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Good morning, Jen. You look half asleep over there.
I just finished my coffee, so I'm actually awake now.
Are you sure it's coffee or wine that you just finished?
Maybe.
I was saying, because I'm looking at you and I see your coffee container and I see your wine container. I see your water container.
I'm actually doing a a double fisting today.
I love it. Well, it's cool to wake up to deer this morning in our place, Will, and it's cool to wake up to a beautiful morning here in Fredericksburg, and we're so excited about the day because we have a wonderful podcast right now we're going to do. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. So this is actually episode 26,
Wow.
guys.
Oh, 26.
We had some amazing time last night.
Yes.
We finished 25, 24, and 23.
All in one day.
All in one day.
Yeah.
All of our livers are still intact, so we're pretty excited about that.
Actually, we have a fellow here who was pre-med. Maybe he should check us out afterwards to make sure we're on the same.
No, it's probably for the best, but they shouldn't check us out.
Oh, mercy.
So we are actually at Hilmy Cellars.
Yes.
And this is, we're still in High or Stonewall? Where are we at exactly?
We're actually in Fredericksburg.
We're in Fredericksburg.
Oh, wow.
Proper.
The very tip there.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right on that edge.
That's yeah. So we're in Fredericksburg, which is awesome because we love this area.
Yes.
At Hilmy Cellars, and we're actually here with a couple of really cool people today. So we're here with ownership, which is Mariana. Is that correct? She's nodding because she refuses to get on a microphone, but she's nodding. She'll do that nonverbal communication thing today, but we're happy to have her here. And she was describing pregame, all the beautiful pictures on the wall and some of the I call it the historical perspective of her sons who were designing, the wine image and that sort of thing, which is pretty cool. And we're also here. Yesterday, you said something that cracked me up. That you were kind of starstruck. I've actually been looking forward to meeting Michael. Now, this is one of my starstruck moments. Yes. So, Michael, your name has come up many times. This is Michael Barton, and I'm just excited to meet you finally because your name has popped up many times over the last month and a half. Right, Will?
I'm glad to be here. Thank you all for having me.
But it was all negative, though. So we want to
naturally. I'd expect nothing
clear some
less.
things up today. No. But Michael, what a pleasure meeting you here today. And you poured us some wine. Actually, we had the pleasure with you, Michael, to go check out some barrels as well. Can you describe what we experienced back in your barrel room as well as what we're drinking right now?
Absolutely. Well, I had to make sure you guys were loose enough to actually really talk.
Sure. Yeah.
So we kind of went back to the barrel room first.
We're really silent, so really appreciate that.
But yeah, we just kind of went back there. We went ahead and tried 3 different wines real fast, just so you guys we kind of talk, show you guys the main cellar. So I know we wanted Petit Verdot, which was one of the main ones that we tried. Our Cabernet Sauvignon from 2022, as well as, you have to remind me, the Syrah.
That's right, Syrah. That was the first one.
Yeah, the Syrah was good.
I haven't been drinking that much, I swear.
Yeah.
Just
for our listeners, it's 10 a.m. in the morning. I love this.
So, and then of course the reason we tried the 2022 Cabernet Sauvignon is because we brought the bottled version of the 2021 Cabernet Sauvignon that we're actually having a glass of right now.
It is very amazing.
Oh, man.
It definitely tastes the difference in the two.
Yeah. But they're also amazingly tasty.
Yes.
And it just reminds all of us, doesn't it, that we're in a beautiful world and we're experiencing an amazing thing with this podcast, meeting great people, but also drinking some fine wines. And go Texas. We're so excited about that.
Yep.
Well, Will, real quick before we get into Michael and all of his issues, actually, he's the friendliest guy. Friendliest at the very moment.
What can we say? Adventures.
Yeah, well, what's that? Yeah, no, he was a gentleman from the very first moment. Very first moment. But Will, where can folks reach us again? Let's talk real quick about some of our social platforms.
So as of now, we actually launched We Know Texas Vino.wine website, which is freaking amazing. Thanks, Jen, for turning me on to .wine. And then, of course, you can find us on Facebook at We Know Texas Vino. And then any podcasting platform.
That's how they pronounce it in Fredericksburg.
Also, not been drinking that much this morning.
So
it's called residual.
Go out there and when you get out there and listen to our podcast, give us a 5-star rating and give us a review. And then while you're at our social media, we have a great guy named Randall over there that's been doing a really good job at posting pictures. Grateful. Yeah. And good shout out over there, buddy, for doing our stuff.
He's an intern right now, but we're thinking about giving him a full-time gig.
We'll give you a free glass a month.
And we'll do something more. But we're very grateful.
He gets one glass of wine.
That's awesome.
The poor man. I'll give you the bottle.
I'm going to challenge our listeners to go ahead and don't hesitate to give us some sort of rating. I think that's pretty cool. And I just, we a lot of you are doing a great job with feedback. And we're grateful. That's how we grow. That's how we're going to mature in this podcasting world. So the more we hear, the better it is. And we will take all those thoughts and feedback seriously, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, great. Let's jump in. We're at Hilmy Cellars in Fredericksburg. We're going to have a great time today. Michael, you ready?
Absolutely.
I have 497 questions for you.
And Roxanne wanted every one of those too, by the way.
496.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to read a quote off your website. Our goal is to make the best wines in Texas. How serious are you about that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the goal.
So why? How are you going to accomplish that? Or have you already accomplished that?
I think through several other, means basically. So we're establishing our vineyard here a little bit more on site. So that's going to be a little bit more involved, and that's going to be a several-year process. So what we've been doing is finding select partners up in the Texas High Plains to give us the best quality fruit. And that's going to be a partnership both between me and the grower, but also that grower with the actual soil site and their actual philosophies. And so we kind of broaden that expanse with working with multiple growers in different areas for different varietals. So we have it all the way as north up Shallow Water, down close to Brownfield, and then a lot of little spaces in between.
Okay.
So a lot of it is getting hand-picked fruit, getting cleaner fruit than a lot of the other competition, working with both the science and the grower mentality, and obviously the vintage, because we're never really fully in control on working on what varietal is going to work that vintage, and then showcase those varietals year by year. So there's going to be some inconsistency and some consistency with the wines that we release, but that's because those are the ones that we can showcase both by vintage and by grower. That's
beautiful. And so have you located some areas that you're especially fond of where you're getting these grapes from? Because you mentioned a few of them, but earlier pregame, you had mentioned one in particular, but is there a place right now you're just really fond of? You're getting great fruit from that area.
I was going to say, it really depends on the varietal.
It does. It really does, doesn't it? Yes.
And so that's kind of one of the main things we've been focusing on is what varietal is growing the best in certain regions.
Okay.
So we've been having like some of our Bordeauxs are doing a little bit better in the northern actual AVA of the Texas High Plains. Does get a little bit colder at night over there, and so we're getting a little bit closer to that phenolic ripeness. So there's ripeness in like the sugars and acids, but there's other ones that are precursors more for like the flavor profile and aromatics.
Wow.
And so we always try to balance that with our picking decisions as winemakers, and some of them have different philosophies, whether they're going for acid based, so they have limited impact on the wines, or if they're going for a phenolic base, where they're going for the big impactful heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And it always balances again by varietal and location.
Okay. Very interesting. Awesome.
Location.
Isn't that important?
I know.
Yeah.
It's like not even a joke.
It's awesome. Yeah.
One thing, and we're sitting in this absolute gorgeous room right now, and you can see the vineyards in the back. So what are y'all growing out here? How many acreage do you have? All that kind of fun
Absolutely. So we're in the process of replanting the front vineyard. That's going to be next year. We haven't quite decided on the varietal because we're just finalizing our soil testing, and we're kind of coming as a consensus. Obviously we got to get the family involved and figure out exactly what they want in the front.
Right.
The middle vineyard, we're focusing on Durif, which is Petit Syrah. It's the French clone. So that's going to be the majority of the vineyard, going down to about 5 to 6 rows of Mourvèdre, and then 2 rows of Barbera. So Barbera was a fun blender that we've used in the past for like the Temp, which is a Tempranillo blend that we usually have. Really added a lot of color and structure and fruit. So we're going to go ahead and experiment with it here in the Hill Country. Mourvèdre has always been a constant heavy hitter. And then the Durif has actually been looking surprisingly well. So we're going to look at a good focus with that. Possibly do a field blend back there, but we'll see, obviously, as the vintage proceeds and the vines grow.
Beautiful. Okay, so I have to ask this because I have not heard this terminology before. You said a field blend.
Oh, yeah. So you can do field blends. So typically in Bordeaux, what you'll have is they'll have their full vineyard. They usually typically do the full blends of those vineyards, or they'll actually hand select like a little bit of Petit Verdot or something. But you can pick the whole vineyard at the same time, combine it, and then co-ferment those varietals together.
Oh, okay. So when you said field blend, I'm thinking you got a little contraption sitting right there. You start crushing the grapes real quick, and you put them together, and you get a quick taste to see what you've got there.
Yeah, so it really depends. I mean, you could go ahead and do that.
And you're going in.
We'll call that home winemaking real fast.
That's Will's Dr. Seuss analogy there.
Exactly. I like that, though.
So did you tell us how many acres you have planted right now?
So right now, we have about 6.5 trellis on the front end of the property, and then we have Five trellis to the back property. So we're actually expanding to the back property next to the Hilmy's home in the back.
Oh, wow.
And so it'll be kind of nice. We'll have multiple sites, a little bit of different on the soil profile, and we're going to see how they kind of grow. And then the eventual plan would be to expand the rest of the 60-acre property.
That's beautiful. Very cool. Well, let me dig into Michael Barton real quick. So who are you? Where'd you grow up? I think you said Texas Tech. I hope I'm not offending you.
No, you got
thank
it.
Goodness. I know that Jen had a TT. Go Tech, right? Red Raiders. And so tell us about yourself a little bit, and how did you end up here at Hilmy?
Absolutely. So I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. I was born and raised down there. Went ahead, got into Texas Tech University. Started as more of a pre-med route. Took a lot of Latin, kind of setting up for those MCATs. So I love the Roman history. I love kind of that military history that you kind of really delve into when you take a lot of Latin. Also, just history in general, watching the expansion of like civilization. In college, I went ahead, was reading through the course catalog and read viticulture and enology, which in Latin is grape growing and winemaking.
Yahoo.
And I apologized to my mother that I was changing majors real fast. And then basically went straight into it. And I love it because it's a balance between my love of science, my love of art and history, and then the ability that you're always working with your hands. And it's something that you get to see evolve over time. So there's always that kind of fun process where you see the wines, they go through their peaks and their valleys and they kind of mellow out, and you either hit it right on or you learn from something from that vintage, because you never do anything perfectly.
True.
But that's kind of the beauty of it, I think.
Yeah, and then you ended up here at
Gorgeous.
Hilmy. Yeah.
Oh,
no. Jen still is not quite awake, and now she's emotional. So, and she's female. So those three things.
Where's that bottle? Let's
I apologize from now on.
And so how did you meet the Hilmy family?
So I actually, I spent some time. So I originally worked at Llano Estacado Winery to kind of cut my teeth and learn. So I got to work under actually 3 different winemakers there. So there's Greg Bruni, who was the executive winemaker. The head winemaker at the time was Chris Hull when I first started. Another great guy. I got to learn like a different mentality with each of those two.
Oh, that's cool.
And then Jason Santani, who's the head winemaker now, I got to learn a lot with him as well.
Wow.
And so it's kind of fun because I kind of got to pick from them, most of the postmodern winemaking and some of the actual more just kind of step back and let the wine do its thing. So it was a great experience at Llano. Really, really appreciated the opportunity to be there. When I graduated, I left. I spent a short stint in Colorado. It was about 1.5 years up there. So I was a winemaker for a small brand called Continental Divide Winery. So it was kind of fun. I got to work with a Coloradan and a California owner, and then made about 50 tons, usually by hand over there. So it was a lot of fun. Really nice fruit. Came back down south, worked at Horn Winery for about 2 years. And then it was kind of my exodus right then that the Hilmys actually approached me to take over operation here.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So that's a good timeline then. You've been here since 2019, is that correct?
Yeah. So I came in December of 2019. Okay. So the first real harvest we went through was about 2020.
Okay.
And so this will probably be, I guess, officially like my third basically harvest here with the
That's really cool. Yeah, and then the Hilmys have some history, of course, in this community. But can you really just describe what the family has done, and then, of course, your input now? But give us the history of this
Absolutely,
winery.
Yeah. So Eric Hilmy bought the property back in 2007, and then established the winery in 2012.
Okay.
So they actually, this middle block, they all hand did. So it's kind of cool. You'll see them, they have that kind of personal touch to the middle block. From them, they expanded it on. We've hit our 10 months. No, trust me. No, you know what it says. It has its own, unique thing. I love walking through the rows. All the vines are kind of in order, but it's fun because, you hand do those. It's not that perfect thing, but everything has to be hand done, which is absolutely kind of our motto here anyway. So it's really fun to walk through that vineyard. But basically they established it. We just hit our 10-year anniversary not too long ago.
Wow.
So we've been here for a while, and they've done some fantastic things. You can see our award wall. We've had some awards all the way back from, I guess, 2015 on.
That's great.
When they first started actually sending into competitions.
Yeah. Well, we had some of your wine when we were visiting a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
We were down here at Texas Wine Club visiting with those great guys, and they had some of your wines, and that's when we fell in love with it.
Yes.
We had some, and we actually took some home with us because they were gracious enough to send us with a bottle or two.
That sparkling that y'all had, just, I'm not a big sparkling fan, but I drank 2 glasses of that sparkling that y'all have. That's freaking phenomenal.
We got more of that coming too.
But that kind of guys, that's when we were like, we have got to visit these folks there at Hilmy for sure. It was great.
And every time we talk to them and I see what they have and we get what they have, it's like we have another one we got to go visit. And there's so many wineries in Texas that it's hard for us to say which ones do we want to go do. because they're also good. And we don't want everybody to think that we're just picking and choosing because we know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. You know, we want to do it, one, because you're small. You know, the big ones, they really don't need our help in marketing because we want to get the information for your small ones out. But we also want everybody to know that the small wineries are still just as good as the big ones.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, we're still family owned.
That's awesome.
Still really small team. And that's why I like working here, honestly, because, you know, I went at the big winery and, you know, I enjoyed that different aspect. But being down here, it's like you're just focused on your lane. You get to really do and focus on the job and really get it done right.
Awesome.
And I think also, in my personal opinion, you know, the bigger, larger wineries, they are focused about pumping it out as fast as possible. Whereas your smaller ones, they want to take their time and give more love to the grapes, more love to the wine, more love to the people that come in the door. I see that more.
Well, I think I tasted a little Michael Barton nervous system in this one.
That was soul.
No, that was a soul, by the way. That is not
That's soul, yeah.
Soul.
It's not much of that left, you know. I gotta rein that one in, I guess.
But I mean, it's just, you know, to me, I think the smaller wineries, in fact, one of the biggest things that we hear across the board of every winery we've been to so far is family. Family.
We love that.
And we love that value in it. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but you don't get that in the larger ones. You know, and I'm not trying to knock the larger ones. By all means, please don't think I'm doing that. I'm just saying that you get the more closeness when you have family involved making the wine. So you get to fight with each other on how the wine's going to get made. You get to fight with each other on how the wine's going to get bottled. You're going to get to fight with each other with the labeling. And then when it finally all gets said and done and you sit and see your final product on the bar and you pour it for somebody that has never been in your winery and you see a smile on their face, all that fighting, it doesn't mean anything anymore. It's all gone.
You just described the 21st century family.
I'm over here like, let's change that to we loved each other when we were talking about
Let's
this.
get along.
We loved each other on the label.
Can't we love each other?
And we've been pretty easy on the fighting, I think. I was going to say, I don't remember, you know, yelling over here.
Oh, it's because you wake up the next day and don't remember nothing.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. I was going to say, every step is a fun process. You know, even just, you know, it's a big logistical chain, especially because we're getting a lot of fruit from the high plains.
Right.
I think eventually when we actually start getting our vineyards really online down here, it'll be kind of fun balancing between the two.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wrote down interesting thing. I'm super interested in this. Do you guys mind if I jump on here real quick? But you talked about the chemistry of what you're bringing to the table right now. You have a unique mind because not only were you pre-med and you understand chemistry, but you're saying that's a really important factor. And do you think that the winemakers and the people who are in this industry who are applying that a little bit more are going to produce a finer product because they are using chemistry? I know a lot of it has to do with taste and finesse and understanding, but
it's really a balancing agent, you know,
yes.
because chemistry is how we go ahead and make sure the wine is preserved. It's going to last longer. And, you know, the end goal for us right now is trying to find some of these wines that we can grow better and then age better, you know, really make some of those ageable reds. And so that's why we do hold that chemistry in importance. The other side of that is you're going to have some different aspects from like holding on to those vines longer. There's going to be always a seeking of those balance between the chemistry and your flavor profile. And of course, every winemaker is different. My focus is we try to find that balance between the two, and we work both with our growers because they're going to try to get better chemistry from growing it, but that also comes with cropping. It comes with de-leafing for the phenolic ripeness.
Right.
We're getting that color stability. So it's really an all-intensive process. Wow. But at the end of the day is we have to make sure we understand our chemistry to make sure that wine is preserved. And you know what? All wine wants to turn into vinegar. My job is to not produce vinegar, you know, and to do it well.
Sure.
So. Awesome.
Absolutely. So you showed us a bunch of books you're using. Those resources are so valuable. In fact, Will, you took pictures of those books.
Sure did.
Why did you do that? Because you're heading this direction.
But yeah, I'm actually heading in this direction right now. And, you know, Michael suggested, hey, take a picture of these books here. At first I thought you said, here, I'm going to give you some books. And I'm like, okay.
They're too expensive.
He's like, no.
Well, that's why when you said that, I misheard you. And I was like,
take a photo.
Yeah. And then you opened the cabinet and said, oh, take photos. I'm like, okay, that sounds much better.
It's much better there. Yeah.
Well, you can't help a butterfly out of the cocoon. You have to let the butterfly get out of the cocoon. All right. Michael's a smart man. He knows he needs to let you learn and buy those books. So that's very good.
It's looking at all the books and just kind of brief over some of the books. I kind of looked at it. I kind of just for a brief moment, I got kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
It is, but I mean, I've done IT stuff, so you know, IT is different than winemaking, but in the end, it's still a lot of reading and understanding and processing data. And sometimes reading through that, you may miss something in the fine print that you missed over 500 times. You may read that book 7 or 8 times, but you read it one time and you're not looking for something. And it's all of a sudden that one little line sticks out and you're like, oh, I missed that, but that makes more sense now.
Yeah. And it was an opportunity that I had at Yano where they had the library available. So me being a young winemaking student, I could go ahead like, why am I adding this? What does it actually do? You can go into that literature and actually figure it out a little bit more parameters of it. And so I have my library here for like when we have our new cellar workers or an intern, or really even some people in the front, if they have a question that's a little bit broader, they can go in there and they can read it. Now, whether you understand what's going on is a different thing, and that can be explained.
Right.
But I always think it's important to have that literature around just in case you encompass something that you haven't faced before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm also a big Googler too.
Oh, exactly. And Google is king. Same with YouTube.
Google
what is this Google thing?
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, I got to fix something. YouTube it.
So it's funny you say that because when I was planting my vines, I was trying to figure out the best way to plant them. And I had an auger sitting right over here, but what I ended up doing is taking my little tiller and tilling it up and then using a hoe to make my drill trowel and then I planted everything inside that.
Yeah, you're solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those augers, they'll actually compact the soil sometimes and it's harder for those roots to get out.
Oh.
So there's always something. And it depends on your soil profile, of course.
Okay.
But that's one thing that it's like sometimes a shovel's the best way.
Interesting.
But, it's going to be a long way. So
Oh yeah.
It's going to hurt.
it's going to hurt. Yeah.
Awesome.
But, it's really amazing, just like the story, the history and everything. One of the things that I absolutely love is just the label alone. Can you describe, your label and where it came from? And because I think that's an amazing little history that's really cool.
Absolutely. So the label design was actually designed by the Hilmys. What we've done is just kind of make sure that they're all kind of uniform, but you'll see that they've actually hand selected. Let me grab this.
There at the bottom.
They hand selected the font that's going to be on the left side. So that's going to be our cursive where it describes the varietal or the blend. And then if you look at the label, we actually have quite a bit of information. So besides the obvious legal aspects of 750 mils, the alcohol,
right,
where it's bottled and what it's from, we'll have the individual vineyard, the AVAs, the vintage, of course. But on the back, we'll go into actually how many cases are produced, how long it's been in oak, what kind of oak.
Nice.
We'll also sometimes say what kind of fermentation method it is. So we try to give, y'all the consumer
as much information,
a little bit more information. So if you buy it somewhere else on a rare chance, like in a restaurant,
right,
at least you'll have some information. But in the front of house, because we're mostly direct to consumer, we'll actually be able to explain the wine to you as we go. But when you have it at home, you can pick it up. Oh, this is limited release. It's a small one.
Nice.
Small batch. I know there was French oak, not American oak,
right,
et cetera, et cetera.
And as a person that consumes quite a bit of wine, I love to have that information. Studying my WSET 3, you learn labeling. You learn about what you need to know. And sometimes you look at this label and you're like, well, what is in this bottle? And that's just all the education you can have right there.
Very detailed, right?
Yeah.
Completely detailed.
Yeah.
And that's an intentional move, right? You guys, I mean, that's that you do that because you want your consumers to be well educated.
Well, and the whole thing is we are a smaller winery. We only produce so much each year. And we do want you guys, when you have those wines and you actually know how much it is, if you can kind of collect some of them too.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of into that though. I really dig that you guys do that so elaborately.
So the showing over here.
So
you can't see it over
Mariana's
there.
hiding behind me, but she's also pointing out that we have like the label, the varietal sideways. So when you have it on a rack and it's sideways, you can still
that is clever.
I'm so sorry, but I just got that.
No, so
I'm just
I know.
my mind is like blown.
Yeah, I do too, because that's one of the biggest problems I have when I look at the shelf or look at my cooler. I can't read it very well. I have to completely pull it out,
right,
turn it around, look at it like, oh, that's not what I want.
So whose brilliant idea was that? Come on, take credit. Do not be modest. Tell me.
Yeah, I think that was Eric. Yeah.
Oh, Eric. Okay.
Eric.
That's pretty smart.
And then the only change I did is we kind of removed the foil capsules and then we did our own cork there.
Okay.
And on the end of the cork, we have the bird. So when you see it
That's cool.
on a wine rack, you can see the bird, it's a Hilmy wine.
Beautiful. Awesome.
So one of the things that a lot of wineries do up north Texas, they do a lot of bourbon barrels, and something I've noticed down here in Fredericksburg, they don't do a lot of bourbon barrels.
So, it's a hit or miss. We actually got a bunch of bourbon barrels in the back right now. hidden away. We haven't chose the right wine to go into it.
Okay.
So, bourbon wine, I helped make a bourbon wine a couple times before. And so what I found is that you can extract a lot of alcohol really high. So we always like to blend something kind of back into it to still give it some fruit and nature. But it's kind of a trending item. So when you make it, you're only going to do 1 or 2 batches of it. So with trends, they come and they go. With red wine, I don't want it sitting too much longer. I think the other reason is we're buying some really nice wine. We're buying some really nice grapes. To kind of throw it in a bourbon barrel, I feel
Mask
like
it a little bit.
I'm going to have to find the right time.
It ruins it.
Yeah.
For me, it's like we're focusing on like an elegant but still bold and nice structured wine, or we're going for some finesse on some of the other lighter reds because it is like 105 degrees outside.
Right.
So sometimes if you want a red wine, we're still going to have some medium to light bodied, and then we're still going to have some heavy ones like around the wintertime.
Okay.
The bourbon barrel we'll get into eventually, but we're going to find the right vintage to make it. So it's always, you kind of see what Mother Nature's going to provide, and then we kind of make the protocol from there.
Interesting. Okay.
Because every vintage is so different in Texas.
Right.
Oh,
and
gosh.
so instead of just throwing the same stuff at it every time, we're trying to kind of evolve as everything evolves.
Right. Okay. That's cool.
You'd mentioned interns earlier. It sounds like you aggressively use interns.
Not necessarily.
Oh, no. Okay.
Honestly, for the last 2 years, we haven't really got to fill that role. And,
Okay.
it's been a hired. So we're bringing on 1 or 2 this year.
Okay.
But we're really limited staff. So it's myself, our assistant winemaker, Haley, and then our cellar worker, Sarah.
Okay.
Who just graduated from Texas Tech. So
Hey.
another rep from Texas.
Keep it on the tech.
Yeah.
Exactly. But so we're really limited crew. But that's a little bit more hands-on approach.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
all get to see everything.
Well, because we talked to a few winemakers and a few of them use them, and a lot of times they even use like high school kids to bring them out, and they call them interns. But I'd heard that from you a couple of times. I thought maybe that was a real philosophy of yours to utilize that.
It's more of a, if they're the right fit too, you can offer them a full time. But a lot of these people, they want to jump from harvest to harvest, and so they're going to explore New Zealand, the poor things,
Yeah.
or Australia.
That was a life choice
or
right
France,
there.
Yeah. So it's, I want to get somebody with some limited experience and also see if they're a good fit, and then get a permanent partner.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
One of the things that they're doing up around North Texas through the FFA, especially around the smaller towns, they're actually grabbing those kids and having them come to the wineries out there and helping them do harvest and doing the winemaking and do the whole process out there, teaching them while they're in high school still, which is pretty impressive because, when I was going to high school, it wasn't about that. It was about, let's get you out here in the machine shop, teach you how to work on a car, how to do some woodworking, how to work on cattle and stuff like that. But now kids nowadays have a much better advantage. Some of them are coming out with freaking associate's degree out of high school, coming out with degrees and having opportunities to even come and work at these wineries and these vineyards to learn a trade that, one of the reasons why a lot of us get into it is because it's something better than doing the 9-to-5 corporate America type job.
Well, it's hard work, but another twofold part of that is what we've learned up there is they're also trying to keep those kids in the community.
Yes.
So if you give them some grassroots experience, they may fall in love with it, like Michael has, and maybe they'll stick around. Maybe they'll be part of that community. I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of a twofold issue: help with harvest, and hey, you may get hooked on it. It may be a bug, maybe a contagion. You'll stick around, right?
I'd be
For
all
sure.
about that,
Yeah.
especially down here, because we have a lot of FAA students. I know a lot of people that are ranching or what have you. I think it's just, I don't have much experience with the local high school right now, but I've heard that they have some similar programs as well.
Oh, that's good.
cool.
That's awesome.
But honestly, I don't have that much information.
Well, we're, in my opinion, and Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like we're kind of in the heart of the wine community here. Fredericksburg is notorious for that. When I first moved to Texas, I heard about Fredericksburg. I tell all my friends about it. My mother-in-law visits, we go to Fredericksburg, to these great places. But what has this winery and this ownership and this business model, what are you doing in the community here? Are you attending festivals outside of the community? What are you doing to stay very, very much involved in this community?
So we've historically been in some like the peach parades and such like that. Lately, it's been just a little bit less because we've been focusing on some other fundraisers, especially through like the competitions that we have. So like SA Rodeo and such like that. So
nice.
those kind of donations. We also donate to like about 5 different parties right now. My COO would probably get a little bit better into that one, though. I'll be honest.
Okay.
But we do a lot of more actual wine donations into the local community. We're still kind of striving because when I kind of started over, we've been just focusing on our vineyard, to be honestly, a little bit lately. But like the Peach Parade, the Peach Jamboree, and stuff like that, we are active components. And
Good.
also Stonewall Chamber of Commerce, Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce. And so we're trying to be a little bit more active in the community on these sides.
Interesting. That's awesome.
The Fredericksburg is known for all their literally almost every weekend. There's something always going on.
Always.
There's never not anything going on the weekends in Fredericksburg. Now we know that some of the wineries that are closer into town could get more of the business. There's a lot of people that venture from outside out here. Do they know about y'all? Is there like maps within Fredericksburg that says, oh, here's the wineries out on 290 going out to Austin to Kerrville,
Oh, absolutely. And so there's a lot of maps with a lot of different organizations.
Okay.
So, but you will notice there's kind of a traffic stop at a certain point.
Yep.
And that's because there's so many wineries that you can hit between that certain point. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it is harder to get people out here because some of those are where the larger wineries are located. Mm-hmm. So most people will stop at 1 or 2 wineries and then go off to the next activity. But that's also with how many wineries there are out here.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be the main competitive aspect. I mean, we're one of the few actual producing wineries, so we are, a smaller winery, but we're actually producing our own wine and selling our own wine and bringing in our own grapes, basically. There's going to be some wineries that are more tasting rooms that will have their wine produced elsewhere, slap a label on it, and sell it. I think, if you notice, there's quite a few more of those coming in.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be kind of a changing dynamic.
Okay.
How do we get people out here? Well, we've been working on our marketing. Obviously, we have you guys here. So
that's right.
You guys.
We're the number one marketing tool you can use.
So, it's just kind of getting your face out there and doing that. And so we also focus on competitions and such. But it is a difficult time right now because, the economy is not the greatest right now.
Right.
We are a luxury brand. So please come see us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll try to do our part, right?
Yeah.
You guys, so drive traffic here and have some fun.
Yeah.
We definitely, we always support our smaller ones. I mean, as I said earlier, we're not against the big ones, but we do support our smaller ones because you put in so much blood, sweat, and tears in this. And I know some of them up in North Texas, they're still got a full-time job while doing their winery too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, they're putting in double time while trying to survive at the same time. And so we want to support y'all, and that's what we're all about.
And we also have our partners like tour buses and such like that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are visiting the area, absolutely look into some tour buses.
Yes.
It is safe. And if you are going to be consuming alcohol,
Wait a minute. Is there a reason why you said it's safe?
just-
Yeah, it's safe. No, it's just like
Driving is scary.
always be careful. It is a wine trail. I just want
Right.
to make sure that everyone
Okay.
who comes and visits enjoy themselves.
Right.
At the
Yeah.
same time, just make sure you have a
Well, I thought about that. I finished college up in Oregon, and the most dangerous road in the country was from Washington State to the University of Idaho. It was at one point it was the most dangerous road in the world. Why? Because those kids in Washington would go to Idaho, where the drinking age was 19, do their thing, and come back to Washington
Wow.
State.
Correct.
But I thought about this highway right here, 290. Is this 290
we
right
have
here?
a lot of trucks.
Yep.
We have a lot of everything else going. So
Yes.
most people, most weekends, everything is fine, but there always is a potential.
But so you're advocating for number one responsibility, but also
absolutely.
utilize those tour buses. I mean, it's really a smart move. You're going to go
And
see
they're
some great
folks.
wineries
They
and
work
tours.
great. And so that's always an avenue to do.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, there's a lot of wineries out here. Just take your time. I always try to suggest people come in like in the middle of the week.
Yes.
Because you'll have a much more intimate interaction.
Absolutely.
And I think that's kind of important because on a weekend, it'll be busy.
Yeah.
But, I don't want you to feel when you come here like you're just
Neglected.
A number or whatever. Yeah, you want to be part
want
of
to
the
give you
team.
that attention.
Yeah.
And so we do that really well on the weekends.
Yeah.
Always in that middle of the week. If you plan a trip, you get some reservations done.
Absolutely.
You're going to have the best experience.
That leads me to my next question. Actually, is when we walk through, I wish we had more time to look at this great facility. But you have some new infrastructure going in. You're building. You're doing.
Yeah, so
this property is really well done. What have you done, and what are you doing
So
to
we've
enhance?
expanded a lot of seating outside.
Okay.
We have more pavilions outside so that you can actually get in the shade and actually sit. But also, the weather usually is really nice, in that spring and fall time. And so we really wanted to capitalize on you being able to sit out and overlook the vineyard. And then of course, more seats gets, more attention out there. But the most important is comfort. Right. You're going to actually enjoy the Texas Hill Country. Go ahead and come out here and actually enjoy the Texas Hill Country. Don't sit inside,
Right.
A little cubby or something.
Yeah.
So I noticed when we came in from the inside, from the front foyer to the outside and stuff, I didn't see any fans. Are you going to put any fans out there? Because
we will have some fans eventually,
Okay.
Right next to where our future kitchen is going in
Okay.
and such.
Right.
And then what we're installing once we're kind of done with the kitchen, because we're under construction there right now to actually bring some food out here. What we'll do is we'll actually have a mister that
Okay.
goes into the main seating area.
Okay.
Nice. That'll be
And
nice.
so we'll have some kind of different avenues.
Yeah.
And then the main pavilion that's basically on the east side, that actually has a steady breeze.
Okay.
That's over there. So we actually kind of positioned it over there to actually enjoy that steady breeze.
Yeah, because it's coming on summertime around here.
It sure is.
Yeah, it's coming.
Actually, I looked at the forecast next week's supposed to be like 105 next week.
Oh, I know.
It's coming.
So, yeah, we're all looking at our watering schedule and everything else.
Oh my God.
It's coming.
Water at 9 o'clock at night, guys.
Save some of that.
Well, with this great property, do you guys do live events? Do you do things to attract people outside of just
we'll
the
have a lot
beautiful
of
wines?
live music.
Okay, live music.
Basically in the summertime. We're getting a little bit more into the events now that we have the space acquired for it. So keep your eyes on it, and you can always check it on an idea of like our website and such like that to kind of see it. We'll also have wine dinners, especially in the fall and the winter time.
Perfect.
But again, you just kind of refer to that website. You can actually see that or follow us on social media.
Who does your social media for you?
So we actually have a third party that's helping
you do.
us.
Okay.
So just started. So we're actually enjoying kind of how it's all
Yeah.
developing.
Yeah.
I just thought with your spirited personality, maybe you also had that on your
I don't have
docket for the
time.
day.
I was going to say, are you serious?
I know. Yeah.
He's telling
I was
us,
almost insulted.
he's
Like,
gonna do
you
this,
know how hard I
and
work?
like,
It'd be a lot cheaper.
oh, he has some time, right?
In my spare time, about a 3-month-old, and then
Exactly, and everything else. Yeah.
Oh my
Parenting is
gosh. Oh, that
So
is ridiculous.
tell us about some of the awards that you've won so far.
Oh yeah, so we've so our Tejas Blanc has been really consistent. We won basically like some platinum awards with that, double golds and golds. So that's our standard white blend that we kind of call it is Roussan and Marsanne. So 2 Rhone white varietals, and it really comes well together. We actually won Best Texas White in I think it was 2020 it was 2021 at the San Antonio
Beautiful.
competition. So the San Antonio Rodeo.
That's
And that
impressive.
was with our Reserve Roussan, which is a barrel aged Roussan.
Oh,
Just lately, we've had a Best Texas class with our Carignan, which just got sold out, so I apologize.
we're ready to
Yeah,
find
that
those
was
people
from
and
the
get that
Houston
back.
rodeo. I know, right? I'm looking forward to actually the wine that we're tasting right now. I'm going to send it in for some competition. I think we have a really good chance.
Oh, it's
And,
gorgeous.
It's beautiful, yeah.
yeah, so this one's from Vsart Vineyards up in Shallowater, Texas, and it's our 2021 Cabernet Sauvignon. So we're sending
Nice.
this in.
Okay, I'll be taking a bottle of that home with me, I think.
Yeah.
So,
And it's like, we're going to go shopping before we leave, right?
Must shop.
so your grapes, are you 100% Texas grapes? You don't outsource
As
outside
of
the
right
state?
now, so we do have some old California vintages from 2020 because we always would get one for the Juju line. Just lately, we haven't had to fill that one. So our Juju, we'll go to the front. We'll taste it here in a little bit. It's a fun blend. It's Cabernet Sauvignon. This last one is just Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. The first one, the 2015, was Cabernet Sauvignon and Petit Verdot, all from Lake County, California.
Nice.
And that was the idea was when we don't have enough grapes in Texas, we'll have at least one wine.
Yeah.
But it's very clearly labeled, and you can know which one is the California line and which one's the Texas.
Oh, that's perfect. That's
That's
smart.
awesome.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
we have that separation, and you will say American on the label. Whereas if it's Texas wine, it will not see any California wine in it.
Oh, interesting.
That's
Okay.
amazing. I like that.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty in labeling. And I know that Texas has gone back and forth for a little while about, and now the new law with the AVA on there and everything, you knowing that it's coming from Texas.
Perfect.
100%.
I'm an
Yeah.
old Eagle Scout, so I'm a law
You're
follower.
an Eagle Scout.
So can you it's got all the what is it, the 13 be courteous, kind, thrifty?
Oh, all that.
Yeah.
I try to be. Still here.
Somebody asked me the other day, can you recite all that? And I'm like, I
haven't been asked that in a
I was
while.
17 years old when I did all that.
It's fantastic. Well, Michael, yeah, we appreciate your time. So, brag about what you have going on here. Again, we've heard such nice things about
Yes.
family and about you, and
absolutely.
I'm very impressed with your facility. But, really just kind of wrap it up and tell us what you're excited about in your future. What's the vision, bud?
I don't know. It's like since I started here, we've just gotten better and better with knowing like what material we have and what kind of tanks and what our usage is. And so each vintage has just been getting better and better and better. So I've been really excited. We have a solid team. They've been really motivated to go ahead and make sure that every little step of the way has been handled correctly. So honestly, like I really have no complaints. You got to come in. We're taking on the actual wine. We're getting better fruit year by year. We're changing some of our methodology to go ahead and adapt to what we're seeing, what we like and what we don't like. So the whole thing is just kind of taking each vineyard and each actual, vintage by stride, figuring out the best policy. The 22s are awesome. We're getting a lot more color. We're getting a lot more extraction out. 23s is looking pretty good. I know we had some hail up in the north. So one of our vineyards was basically wiped, but the stuff that's still there is looking strong.
Good.
So we're looking at a nice, decent year.
Nice.
Awesome.
I don't know. I'm just excited.
Well, I can tell you're excited, and it sounds like the family's excited. And that's really cool to see. But I want to add one more note, you guys, and that is how clean and organized was that room back there. I was very impressed.
Yes.
So we know Michael is a little, what do they call that? A little.
You could say that. OCD member for sure.
No, he just keeps attention to what
love
needs
it,
to be
though.
organized and clean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You could thank Haley, our assistant winemaker.
Okay, very good. So kudos to her. Shout out for sure. Well, that was one of the cleanest, most well-kept rooms that we've seen for sure. And even this is all well done with the art, and it's well done, you guys. So any last words? I mean, we're so proud of you guys and excited to be here.
No, I'm just really happy to have you guys out here, and come for you to check on us anytime.
Well, I know we're going to do an educational portion here in a minute. I know Jen facilitates that for us, and we're excited for that, of course, and we're hoping you're going to participate in that as well. Sure. I know Jen's always got some great topics, but what are some of the areas where people can reach out to you? Where are you physically located, and where?
Yeah, so we're physically located here in Fredericksburg, Texas. We're actually right next to Stonewall. So we're kind of on the outskirts, right off of 290. So we're on the north side. You guys can reach out basically online. You can call in for a reservation anytime. But we do accept walk-ins. We're open 7 days a week.
Oh, that's huge. Okay, 7 days a week.
We're one of the few guys who are open basically 7 days, so you can come out unless it's a rare holiday. Obviously, like Christmas, we're probably not going to be here. So please spare us on that.
One day, Michael gets to spend with his kid.
That's the rare holiday there.
That's awesome.
But thank you all, and I really hope you guys come out. So
we absolutely. And then just look at your wine club as well. You have a wine club options.
Absolutely. So we have a 3, 6, and a 12 bottle club.
Perfect.
And then we have quarterly releases.
Okay.
So it'll happen 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And what we try to do is release the wines relative to the season. So January, February, you're probably going to start with a nice red, because it's still cold, and then you're going to have some of the whites and rosés released, so you can get ready for the hot summer.
Makes sense.
Middle of the summer, you'll still have some whites and then some lighter reds, and then towards the fall and wintertime, that's when we'll release the big bold reds to y'all. They get the first release of those, and then we'll wait a little bit and then release it to the rest of the community. They also get first access to our reserve series, the 100 cases or less.
Nice.
Oh.
And then when we do release something that's been in basically in the cellar in the back for a long time, Wine Club will have first access.
Okay.
So,
good.
and how much is your wine club, by the way?
So it's no cost. It's just going to be the discount levels.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
I
That's
think
good.
we start at
Honey, we're going to be joining a wine club.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, Michael, thanks for your time today.
Yes.
And Mariana, thank you you contributed a whole bunch here. Actually, it was nonverbal, but you're smiling. She smiled the whole time, and she was up helping, and she was more of the behind the scenes girl. But thank you for your time and your family as well.
See her in the background. Don't.
Yeah, right. Don't say that. She's sitting there like the czar, making sure that Michael's behaving. Well, we'll be back in a minute, you guys. And Jen, we're excited about the educational portion. Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, cheers.
Hey, this is Jeff Coe from TexasWineLover.com. We're here with Will, Michael, and Jen from We Know Texas Vino.
And this is Amy Nemec with the Texas Wine Lover mobile app. We're wrapping up the interview and moving into the wine education portion of the episode, so stick with us.
Well, Will, is it any better sitting in front of grapevines on a beautiful Monday morning?
There's only things better is if we sit there with a fresh glass of wine and some baguettes.
How about baguettes? How about this? How about
baguettes,
how about
but we
and we
definitely
get
have wine.
all that, and we get to listen to Jen teach.
Oh.
How about that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's skip the baguettes and let's go to Jen teaching.
All right, Jen, you're on, girl.
Well, I'm loving every single segment that we're kind of talking about, and really big into terminology. And a lot of people bring this out whenever you're explaining about wines, is barrel types. And the one thing that really is brought up is, new oak and neutral oak. And some people don't understand the difference between, especially when I started in the wine, I'm sitting there going, it's a barrel, so it's wood, or whatever. So understanding what actually new oak and neutral oak really truly means, and I'm going to be using my resources of Michael over here.
Michael Barton, not Michael Woods.
So,
Let's make sure we clarify that one.
Clarify that right now.
Now, and this really kind of cool is that, you do different types of flavor profiles, and we've been talking about profiles for a little bit too, and on the tongue that you get from different types of oak. French oak, you're going to get more of this softer, more of the coconut vanilla note off of it, whereas American, you get a little bit more of the spice, a little bit more stronger notes off of it. And depending on the winemaker itself, they like to throw in a little bit of French or American, or sometimes you even get Belgian. And it all depends on the winemaker, the palate, whatever they decide to do. And then I think a big part is varietal as well, because you want to bring out some flavors on certain ones, and you don't want to have an oak bomb on others. So, so tell me a little bit more what you like to do, and go from there.
Absolutely. So we use both French and American oak, and occasionally acacia. If you're ever curious.
Acacia.
Yeah,
So,
I've heard of acacia.
That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, and Hungarian as well. So it kind of depends on the programs that we use it for too. So like American oak, we typically like to use for like Tempranillo.
Yep.
Because American oak can be aggressive, and so Tempranillo can handle it. So it's like, a barrel can come in with like two fists punching. Like Tempranillos are like, yeah, come at me, bro. I'm fine with that.
I mean,
so,
that's how I see Tempranillo anyways.
Exactly.
But I mean, that's very common in Spain.
Exactly.
Spain, the Spanish actually use American oak.
And if you look at what they're doing over the pond, there's a reason why they're doing it, okay?
Oh.
So we always try to incorporate a little bit of that. But then you need some finesse, and so that's when like the French oak comes. So when the wine has some nice structure, but has some finesse, but you want to elongate that palate, that's when you're kind of looking at some new oak. Now, do you want it a little bit more aggressive at the back end? Or you want a little bit more finesse? That's when you kind of balance between not only your cooperage, because there's different cooperages for each type of French oak and cooperages for American oak, but also just how they toast.
Right.
So there's water bending, there's the light toast with the fires, there's the ones that are like slow and heat impactful. How much flavor profile? Well, the only way you're going to know is you put wine in it and you taste it down the road. So we also do some experimenting with cooperages.
Oh, that's
Interesting.
awesome.
That's awesome.
And another thing that's brought up a lot, whenever people are looking at the menu and they're going, oh my gosh, why is red wine so much more expensive than white wine? Well, if y'all didn't know, barrels are not cheap. And they cost a little bit of money. And so, I mean, I've heard barrels go as high as almost $5,000 to $10,000 per.
Yeah.
So
I'm not buying those ones.
we leave those to those people over there.
You can get like American oak from $500 up to about $1,500 if you really want to spend a pretty penny. Basically, French oak starts at like about $1,000 up to about $1,800.
Wow.
Those are like standard pricings. These aren't, you're not going over and beyond, but they're still pretty high. And so the cool part about with red wine, you got to think how long it's got to sit, how long it's got to mellow. First of all, those barrels are handmade. So that's why they come with a high price point. They have to be hand done. They have a lot of quality control. They're also coming from specific forests.
Right.
They can only harvest so much wood at a time,
Right.
especially in France. So that kind of goes in the price point. Then you got to think the manual labor that goes into the winery. So we got to clean those. We got to maintain those. We got to keep the outside, free from any other particles or any potential fruit fly food or anything. So there's a lot of manual labor that goes into that. Also time frame that picks up space. Space is time. Space is time is money. You know how it
yeah.
goes. So
go ahead.
go ahead. I was going to say. So it all incorporates into red wine, flavor profile, new oak, neutral oak, all these kind of going together, and then the time frame, and that's why you're kind of seeing a higher price point with red.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then, the main difference between new and neutral. New is never been used, never been had any type of alcohol whatsoever in this bad boy. It is fresh off the market, or the truck or whatever,
Right.
or the boat or wherever it's coming from.
So was it on a dating app?
It is. It's that nice one. And then neutral's been used at least once, if not more than obviously.
Correct. So it goes like you'll have your new oak barrels, which by the way is the loveliest smell. If you ever just pop off those little plastic bungs, put your nose in there, probably one of the best experiences. Honestly.
Oh.
I love that smell, especially when you steam them and you kind of get them all hydrated. So new oak is going to impart the most flavor profile. And you're going to actually get that flavor profile. Again, maybe that second year, you're going to get a little bit. In that third year, we're kind of leaning on to neutrality. So the neutral barrel is not going to impart flavor profile, but because oak is an organic membrane, because it breathes, oxygen will still actually go through those small pores and interact with the wine. So that's called microoxygenation. So what that does is it softens the red wines to a point, because a young red wine is going to be really tannic, or it makes you tighten up on the mouth. Over time, that little minimal amount of oxygen slowly leaking in month by month is going to soften it out and elongate that that actual palate.
That's
So
gorgeous.
that's why we use oak barrels. We discovered that, way back in Roman times, and I like this.
You're right.
The amphora had its own kind of breathability, but when they started going to the oak barrel, that's when they started figuring out more and more. And so you
Interesting.
can kind of thank the Romans and the monks for that one, because that was definitely kind of a Catholic.
There you go.
Interesting.
And we
Definitely.
actually had a question about
Little
that
history.
on a little history.
A little history trivia last night.
Per capita,
Yeah.
what was it? Vatican City
Consumes
consumes the
more
most
wine.
wine.
Yeah. So, and I've heard,
Makes complete sense to me.
I've studied some serious history, and I know that there are some Catholics in Vatican City, just for the record.
So I have a question here, and it just this popped up. You talking
go
about your barrels and stuff. So you can't take them apart because obviously, one, you don't have the equipment to take it apart, and two, it's going to be a pain in the butt to take it apart to clean it. How do you actually clean those barrels to know that every inch inside that barrel is actually cleaned properly?
So let's talk about the barrels themselves. So yes, they composed of staves. They have the heads on each side, and then there's a hole on top. So that hole is called the bung hole. Yes, B-U-N-G.
Right.
You heard that correctly.
Bung hole.
The bung hole. So the bung hole is the main access point. We're going to use this term a lot now.
Yeah.
You actually flip the barrel over,
Okay.
so anything can exit out the bung hole. And then what you do is you have a device that you can go in and actually sprinkle water in there, or you have a high pressure device that you can put in there and actually really spray the inside. So that's going to remove any of the actual physical matter inside the barrel. This is
Okay.
after emptying, of course,
Right.
mind you. So what you're going to do is go ahead and get any of those particles. You can have a thing called tartrate buildup in there. Basically, it's like wine crystals that will actually crystallize in sheets and actually stick to the sides. So you'll want all that out. That's going to be with the water treatment. Afterwards, you can steam it, or you can fill it up with water and treat it with sulfur. So there's a lot of barrel care. And on the outside, what you can do is do like a mildewcide or a fungicide, painting over it. That'll preserve the wine barrels for longer. Or you can keep it a little bit al natural if you have the appropriate, basically humidity in your cellar.
Okay. So, and how do you know that that barrel is clean fully clean on the inside? I mean, you obviously can't just look inside of it.
Honestly, there's a little bit of looking with a little flashlight. Some people use alternative oak. Sometimes that guy's kind of stuck in there. And so it's kind of the steamer is kind of the do-all, end-all. It's going to make sure it's sterile.
Yeah, it sterilizes it.
And that's kind of the most important, especially when you're in a larger production.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
Good question.
100%, you never quite know. I mean, there's other methods, but these are the most common ones that you'll see.
I mean, I guess you could use a little, use a little camera to stick in there and kind of twirl around and look at it.
Yeah, it's
I mean, you're pre-med, you know that.
Yeah, that's good. Not going to use that one.
Is that why you're laughing? Because of the pre-med reference? Mercy.
coughing there.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, luckily I left pre-med before I had to play with
This
it.
barrel needs a procedure. Let's schedule a procedure for this barrel.
Oh, man.
Doctor. Now, so is that wrapped it up for you, Jen? You have other questions? That's so awesome. That was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because people don't even think about most of the time what's in their bottle itself and what all process. I mean, this is not something like, you know what, I'm gonna make grapes, I'm gonna make wine. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
It's a year process, a year's
Years
process.
process,
I
yeah.
mean, you have to have at least solid 2 to 3 leaves before you could even make any type of wine whatsoever, and sometimes even longer than that.
Well, it's probably been one of our renaissance moments, right? Doing this podcast is people who drink a bottle of wine, 95% of the people, they just drink a bottle of wine. They have no idea what's going on behind it. And that's why we love what we're doing, because we're learning the science and the chemistry and the hard work and the sweat and the tears and the financial part of it, which is just huge. But this is an important feature for us, Michael, because it does teach the novice drinker and the podcast listener just how much work goes into it. So we are grateful for that.
And we get, I've met people out there that listen to our podcast. I don't know about y'all too, but the one thing they always point out to us or to me is that they love that we do education on there, because they get to understand more about what goes into that bottle than just them open a cork up and drink it and say, oh, look, I got a bottle of wine here that's really great. Now they understand more about the process, the science, the
Absolutely.
the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into that.
Yeah.
And you're going to learn something every year. I mean, this is going to be the 10th harvest that I'm getting my hands in. You know what? I learn something new every single
That's
year.
outstanding.
It's a non-stop education.
It's nonstop. I mean, you're going to learn a different weather pattern. You're going to learn a different kind of picking. You're going to learn something. And, you know, and that goes into the winemaking every single year.
We're going to re-interview you in 30 years, and I hope that is the same philosophy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He'll be like, I learn something new every year.
Out of complete wanting to know, have you ever just read the Farmer's Almanac? And,
Oh, yeah.
And see and use that as a guide also?
So I've been using that, and then honestly, we've been going back, like, there's a lot of data on weather. We've been going back like 50 plus years.
Wow.
We've been seeing some of that too.
Awesome.
Interesting.
So it kind of helps. I mean, I knew it was going to be wetter. Didn't expect as much hail, but here you are.
Well, we are grateful. So we're going to wrap it up here. But
Yes.
you guys, that was a great podcast, and we're so excited, and to meet this family, to meet Michael finally. And so, takeaways real quick. Will you have yours on the plate?
The takeaways is, and unfortunately, the takeaway that I take away from every time we go to a winery
Right, sure.
is don't give up.
Yeah.
Literally, don't give up. I mean,
Be
you might,
stubborn.
be stubborn.
Michael doesn't seem like the kind of guy who gives up on much.
Well,
He seems like he's a
Well, and I could
ask my
hard-spirited
wife on that
go-getter. Yeah.
But I mean, in this industry, you just because you had a hailstorm come over and kill off 50% of your crops doesn't mean you just stop making wine. It means that next year that's something you have to change, put netting up, or you got to do something to protect that fruit.
Make the adjustment.
And then all of a sudden you have freaking rain coming in the next year. Well, now you got to figure out how to run that water off so
Irrigate.
it doesn't drown your grapes.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing.
Perseverant.
Yes, perseverance.
Jen?
Sure. I've actually been to Hilmy a few times before here, and I appreciate every single time. The service here was absolutely fantastic every time I've been in here. And, I'm just so happy I've actually been able to meet you guys in person
Thank y'all.
finally. And what goes into the time, the effort, the love, the passion, your soul. A lot of people forget about this is your heart, your soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's absolutely gorgeous, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and mine is really cool too. I don't want people to take for granted the hard work that goes into this
Yes.
industry, but also the chemistry and the science. Sometimes we take that for granted. I really think we have even done that a little bit.
Yep.
But to be reminded, there is some real science that goes into this, and it is a beautiful thing. So educate yourself like you did, Will. Take pictures of the books, right? Get those books in your resources, and remember, it's a very, very important part of it. So we're grateful. Well, we have a couple sponsors, Will, that we're excited about, and we got to spend time with them last night.
Oh,
that was so much fun with Texas Wine Lover, the app and the website.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
And honestly, one thing that he actually brought up, Michael was bringing up earlier, was, that they are a part of the wine trail as well as the bus tours. You can find those bus tours on that app,
Great point.
on their website.
Great point.
And, that you can pick out whatever ones to go to
And
this
not only us,
location.
you can
for
pick out a
sure.
whole bunch of wineries on the trail.
But why would you want to do that when you just come to Hilmy and just spend the whole day?
Maybe
You
here.
can start with us.
Well, since we're here, let's go ahead and brag about that. But you're
Start with
right.
us and then go. How
So
about that?
Michael, you'll like this. So we met Jeff last night for the first time, and
Yeah, great guy.
we gave him a
Yes.
nickname. And his nickname now, I want to just put is the Godfather. All right, the
Yeah.
Godfather.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know that?
So if you talk to him, if you
Yeah.
got him on your text, just send, "Hey, Godfather, what's going on?"
Yeah, but they're great, and they're doing a great thing. We're blessed to be part of that
Yes.
team.
Oh,
and then in
yes.
addition to that, we're with Texas Wine Club, which is
Yes.
amazing. I know they promote Hilmy as well, and
Yep.
I'm just excited for.
Great folks
Yeah,
over there, too.
they're
Awesome.
amazing. They're going to do so much in this state and beyond. They're really a great
Yes.
cast of people.
Yep.
So anyway, well, we're excited. Thank you again for the Hilmy family and the matriarch sitting over here. That is Mariana, and of course, Michael. Thank you for your time today. We're very, very
Thank
grateful.
y'all so much. Pleasure's all mine.
Yep. Now I finished with a quote. I only have one today, Jen. Are you disappointed? I only have one today. I think it's. Oh no, I have two. I
have
just
two?
I looked at my
Okay,
notes.
I'm ready. Hold
They're
on.
both short
Let me
though.
fix my
The,
seat.
the
Let's do
first
this.
one is just for people, our listeners. The second one is for Michael Barton. Okay, here we go. Money can't buy happiness, but it can buy wine.
Facts.
That is true.
That does not
This is
lie.
for my newest friend, Michael Barton. Wine, how classy people get trashed. So we are excited. We are excited to be here. Hilmy, thank you for your
Yes.
hospitality. And this is Michael.
This is Will.
And this is Jen.
Cheers.
Cheers.